majority of Kenyans that are living abroad say they would want to participate in the elections here in Kenya electronically. And this is according to a survey that was conducted by the Kenya Diaspora Alliance. With me now in studio is the chairman of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, that's Shem Ochodo, who wants to tell us more about this survey. Thank you very much, sir, for making time for News Center. So about 777 respondents on this particular survey on in which way the Kenyans living abroad diaspora would like to participate in the elections. Talk to us about this.
Thank you, Sophia. This is a study that was actually conducted by the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Professor Beth Whitaker was the one who was leading the study. And it's a process that's gone on for about 10 months, actually started in March up to December last year.
Right.
Our idea was we wanted to establish the thinking of Kenyan diaspora so that when KDA talks, it's with authority of what the diaspora feel. So it was a fairly comprehensive study. It looked at many things. The report only gives a bird's eye view of what we did find out. We believe this is probably the first such, at least the first such comprehensive survey that's being done of Kenya's diaspora.
But let me interject there. You say
Yes.
comprehensive.
Yes.
It sent out questionnaires to 777 respondents. However, these were in English, and only 441 people managed to complete the same. So talking about the diaspora and
Sure.
441, that cannot surely be comprehensive.
Yes, you're right, Sophia, to an extent. But remember the 700 plus that did start to complete. It's not that they didn't go significantly. It's not that they didn't answer any questions.
Okay.
They went quite significantly. It's only that they didn't go 100%. Some went 50%, 70%, and so on. But yes, so to speak, even 1,000 would still be a small number. But again, when you're doing a scientific sample, very often we see the other organizations that do scientific studies, they barely usually have 1,000, 2,000. That's an acceptable sample.
Okay.
So obviously we are not complaining, we are not claiming that this is representative of all diaspora.
Yeah.
At any rate, not every diaspora is on internet. We do know there are Kenyans who go particularly to the neighboring countries or to Middle East who don't use internet at all. So they would not have been part of this survey. But we feel for those who use internet, this was fairly representative enough.
So they'd wish to participate electronically. Currently, according to the law, it is manual.
Right.
And it is to the closest embassy.
Right.
So what efforts are being put in place by yourself and other stakeholders to make this a reality?
I may not be in a position to preempt what the new commissioners are planning.
All right.
Yesterday we hosted a stakeholders roundtable where we had nearly all the major stakeholders, from the political parties to parliament to IBC and so on and so forth, to the diaspora themselves, representatives, to the ELOG, the electoral monitoring bodies, and civil society. So it was fairly representative, not to forget the private sector, KEPSA.
Right.
And the premise was, how do we build consensus around which diaspora are going to participate meaningfully in these elections? Our goal as Kenya Diaspora Alliance is to get 1 million among the diaspora to vote. But I think if we get 10, 20% of that, 100 or 200,000 registering, we'll be comfortable because we recognize the Constitution, Article 82, does talk of progressive registration. But we are also alive to Article 83, that talks of IBC making maximum administrative arrangements to ensure Kenyans are able to vote, and diaspora are just Kenyans like any other. So to that extent, they recognize that the easiest way to vote, and I'm glad they have confidence in electronic voting, we have secure platforms. As KDA, we have gone further. Instead of mourning about challenges, we've brought about solutions. We have like a diaspora database which has got capability to allow electronic voting online. We also have mobile voting facility that's available that could be taken over and converted into use. One M-Kura is already available on Google Apps, so people can test drive it. But we have even a superior product which is not publicly accessible yet, called M-Vote. We would be very happy if some of this, or even other technologies, could be used in the current elections. But moving forward, often people say, now this mobile technology you guys are talking about, which other country has used mobile voting? We normally answer with a question. Before Kenya did mobile money, which other country did it? The point
so it's
is,
doable.
Kenya is the powerhouse when it comes to mobile applications and technologies.
Okay, so talk to us about this particular election. Currently here in Kenya, we
Right.
have the mass voter registration exercise going on.
Right.
For those Kenyans that are watching outside the Kenya's boundaries and would want to participate,
Right.
First, do we know which countries will be voting, Kenyans in which countries in this particular election, and how do they go about registering to vote?
Diaspora were greatly looking forward to start registering next week. Initially, IBC had announced on the 1st of February, 1st to 14th, diaspora were going to be registered. We are a bit uncomfortable that, on the one hand, that this is being moved forward, but also we also would have been uncomfortable it being done without civic and voter education done ahead of the actual registration. Whenever IBC new commissioners decide, and we hope this will be decided pretty quickly, because among the diaspora we also have candidates. There are at least a number of 3 presidential candidates from among the diaspora. There are a number who plan to run for gubernatorial, senatorial, parliamentary, and all that.
Do they intend to come home to campaign?
Yeah, they do. They do. A number already actually on the ground, already preparing their thing. So we would want all this done pretty quickly so that the timelines for February, March, they're not left out. In terms of Sofia, where the registration is going to take place, we believe this would be consensual in the sense that it shouldn't be just IBC on its own deciding. The other stakeholders, foreign affairs, the political parties, diaspora themselves, and this is part of why we thought this research was important. At least we have indication, and we provided figures to IBC. 3 credible sources. The first one is National Statistics Bureau results, the census reports.
Right.
So, for example, we have provided reports from the US Census Bureau, similarly for Canada, for UK, from Australia, from UAE. So those we have provided. The second source that Foreign Affairs have provided are Kenyans registered with the embassies. We've also, to an extent possible, availed data of Kenyans registered with organizations like ours who are registered members. So people you can touch and say, so and so, this is where they live, this is their contact.
Okay. In as far as the political landscape is concerned, because usually you'll see the politicians get involved, whether it's, in making sure like now Kenyans come out to register as voters ahead of the campaigns to, get elected. We don't see many of them talking diaspora. Is it because they don't feel the diaspora has enough of a voice to be able to sway the vote, that it's insignificant?
Yeah, this is quite unfortunate because a number of them actually raise funds from the diaspora. We are alive to the fact that diaspora is the highest forex earner in terms of $2 billion coming to the economy every year. This is something that worries us. I think they believe that we won't be able to register that many number of the diaspora. And this is part of why we said, okay, the only way to get a significant number, the only sure way to get, say, like 1 million diaspora to vote is electronic. And we are hoping that as before Parliament goes on final recess, that IBC will work with Parliament. And this is the reassurance that Honorable Senator Yusuf Haji, chair of the Defense Foreign Relations Committee of the Senate, did tell us yesterday that, look, can IBC with the stakeholders bring us what are the legal changes? In fact, it may not even require change in law because our electoral laws already provide for electoral voting. It's a discretion that IBC has. But what we may require are regulations being amended to take care of electronic voting so that significant numbers of diaspora vote. If we were able to get 1 million diaspora to vote, all the politicians would be talking about it.
Would be talking about it. All right. Finally, before I let you go, in as far as, funding into this, IEBC already within Kenya and the election coming up and this exercise is strained of finances to be able to conduct the same. Having Kenyans diaspora vote again is quite a huge cost. Talking about electronic, that extends it a little bit further. So is this a conversation that's taking place already to ensure that as we ensure that Kenyans abroad are not disenfranchised, but there's also funding that will be able to ensure the same takes place? Actually,
Sophia, I know this is an excuse that has been used by some to deny diaspora their rights to vote. When people talk of it being expensive, we haven't seen figures which are credible that are saying it costs so much. But even that said, diaspora themselves and their friends have said, look, tell us how much is required. We'll participate to make sure it happens. As a matter of fact, there are major international organizations which have said, look, if IBC requests, will co-finance diaspora voting.
Yeah.
And this information we have availed to the leadership of IBC.
Okay.
But I must also mention, I know corruption is a big thing because a lot of money goes to pilferage. And I'm happy that the opposition is raising this as an issue.
Okay.
But I'm concerned that the corruption is happening on both sides of the government. I'm hoping if we can manage our resources well, we wouldn't have a shortage of money to allow diaspora to realize their rights.
Exactly. Thank you, Shemo Chodo, for joining us. He's the chairman of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance with us here on News Center, updating us on some of the efforts and, of course, that survey that was recently released on the interest of Kenyans living abroad to participate in the Kenyan election, but do it electronically. You are watching